Okay, we're live, and we got Chris Bell with us here.
I
He
had a I had a perm date last week.
it looks like it turned out pretty good. I mean, that's quite the perm. I thought. Oh yeah, we lost Chris. Okay, he's back. I thought they had a chemical imbalance and burned all your hair off. You've got no audio, Chris. Okay, maybe maybe he'll get back with us. If you didn't see last week, we didn't have a show because Chris had a appointment to get his hair permed. And last I heard, they got the chemicals wrong and burned off all his hair, and they said it may never grow back. But apparently, it did grow back. Are you there, Chris?
I'm here.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure why this isn't coming through my mic and stuff. It must have something to do with this afro I'm wearing.
Yeah, I mean you're back. I was telling people that last
Oh
week
yeah,
we didn't have a show because you I don't know what me get your hair did.
it was a miracle. I saw this commercial, this infomercial on TV, and immediately got on Amazon Prime and ordered this stuff and started rubbing it on my head. I haven't had hair in like 20 years,
And it
15
did
years.
that. It did that in a week.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's amazing.
That's pretty impressive. Did it come in curly or did you have to get it permed to get
Oh
it?
no, it came in curly just like this.
Wow, you're gonna have to post a link in the comments. I don't know if I want any of that, but there may be some listeners out there who do.
I would highly recommend it. If you've been suffering from male pattern baldness, then I'll probably make a follow up Facebook post, and let's share this with the world. It's been a miracle, man. I mean, you saw my response to your post last week. It was completely bald out there at Shorty's.
Oh yeah, in a matter of 6 days, you grew that head of hair.
Oh yeah, yep, yep.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
I'm wondering what it'll do if I rub it on other parts.
Yeah, I wouldn't get it anywhere near your ass.
Oh. You gotta
Yeah,
keep it lively around here, man.
yeah.
My damn hat.
I don't think you can fit a hat over that.
Do what?
I don't think you can get a hat to fit over that
Oh yeah,
luscious full head of hair. No, that looks good.
yeah, yeah. I'm cruising the hood tonight, and what we got of this? What we got going on here? We've already got comments coming in. I'm gonna talk about. Oh yeah, Clay Newcomb says bear grease will do that too, enhance hair growth. Not like this, baby. I'm telling you.
No, I mean that's pretty impressive in 6 days.
I've had bear grease on my hands before and rubbed my face and stuff, and nah, it didn't make it come in like this.
No, that's pretty impressive. You need to get a hold of that company.
Yep,
You
yep,
could very easily be their poster child.
100%, hundred
Impressive,
percent.
impressive hair growth.
I'm gonna try to set up my mic so I can hear shit. What's going on here? I don't get what's going on here, Ed. I've got
What do
some
you mean?
technical difficulties. I'm hearing you through my computer instead of.
You need to set your microphones to your headphones or your
I know I
computer.
already had it there once. Let's see what we got here. Looks like amateur hour around here.
It's because you signed out and signed back in at the
I
last
know.
moment.
It's ridiculous. Let me get out of here. I'll come back in. I'll be right back in.
Okay. So yeah, if you've seen Chris in his natural state, that's not his natural state. I don't even know if I want hair like that. Seems like a lot of upkeep. I'm pretty good with being bald. Okay, he's trying to figure it out. I hate it when he leaves me on here by myself.
Let's try it now.
Is that better?
Oh man, that's a lot better. That's a lot
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, you got rid of all that hair.
Yeah, I went back to the natural state. That's why it took me so long. I had the clippers out. I don't like all that hair.
Okay, so we were talking earlier before we went on the air.
Did you find it? We're talking about George Washington being the first person to breed mules.
Okay, I don't know that I found the name of the book. There's a book. It's a historical fiction book, and it's pretty cool because it talks about George Washington breeding mules, and also it talks about his hounds. I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me, or I'll find it. But yeah. So I was telling you, he got the first Mammoth Jack. He received a Spanish Jack
I was
named
going to say Spanish.
named a
Those
royal
were a
gift
rage around here for a while.
from King Charles III. And he bred that Mammoth Jack to make the first mules in America.
No kidding.
I'm looking for the name of the book. It's a good
It,
book.
it,
It's been 20 years since I read it.
the thing of it is, I mean, George Washington was prolific in the American colonies long before 1776. Or he was a surveyor for the British during the French and Indian War and served with the British Army during the French and Indian War. So he'd been around for a long time. So that could have been, 40, 30 years before the American Revolution in 1776,
Definitely.
1780s.
I mean, he was obviously a prominent American.
Right.
He also ran foxhounds. Uh, we could hang out with him. Like he would be down with our shit.
Look at Joe the neighbor chiming in. Gone for 10 days. Go figure. Wouldn't be like that at my studio. Did you know Joe boots out Rogan and Theo Vaughn so that we can do our live show, Ed?
Oh, I know. I mean, he's talking about your hair, though, right?
Well, my hair would have grown with or without his studio.
Yeah, but he's saying he's been gone for 10 days and you grow that head of hair.
Oh man. Yeah, but back to George Washington. I mean, there were a lot of cool things about that guy. As far as his running dogs, he even imported some. I mean, this guy he was influential. Imported some of the old English blue Gascon hounds,
Yeah.
and a lot of different cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he was a dog hunter.
Hmm.
That's no bullshit. George Washington was a dog hunter.
And he ran deer dogs and foxhounds, and those dogs. He hunted all kinds of stuff with them.
Yeah, I mean, he was running running hounds
Hmm.
that I know of. So yeah, he was running deer.
Yeah, you know it.
There wasn't no fishing game to give him shit either.
That's right. Yep. I think that's why those Virginia guys are so partial to those tricolored hounds. You see a lot of tricolored hounds, Walker breeds in Virginia, and I think it goes right back to those ancient, those traditional roots.
Foxhounds.
Heck yeah.
I'm really partial to a tricolored saddleback dog.
Are
I'm
you
not
really?
I'm not like a dog for what it'll do, but if I got a choice and what they do is equal, like yeah, I'm picking a tricolored saddleback dog. Something
I'm
about him.
partial to the tricolored English dog,
Yeah.
like a true tricolor English dog. Like um, one that's got a big dark spots on its side, ticked up in blue, red head, and red ticks down its legs. I'm a sucker for those.
Yeah. We all kind of have our, I mean, we're not hunting for color, you know, but every dog hunter has his favorite color, which if the dogs are equal, he's going to pick that color dog.
Don't you think though, when you got one that you like looking at, that you're a little more prone to pay a little more attention to it?
Well, yeah.
If you like
Uh,
looking at the dog, you're like, "Oh, I like that dog. And
and
so you pay a little more attention to it. So you put a little more effort in it, and it just kind of turns into a decent dog at that point. What do you think?
yeah, I mean, yeah, we've talked about that before. But I mean, you see it often where people will have a English dog that's really good, and then when that dog is gone, they want to replace it with an English dog.
Yeah.
And we all know that, you know, if it was only that simple, if it was only as simple as looking at the dogs and seeing the color pattern that we like, but there's more to it. I mean, you get a dog that's really good that's in a certain color pattern and it kind of sets you for life on that color pattern.
I think so. I always say though that they all get a lot better looking when they're doing their job and they're doing it right. You can take a mud ugly hound, and if they do it, or dog or cur dog or whatever, and if they do it the way you like it to do it, man, it's like, I like the looks of that dog.
Oh yeah, I mean that's definitely where it comes from.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I've kind of always liked ugly dogs because always said like an ugly dog doesn't live by its looks. Like you
Now,
see a dog,
when you say ugly, do you mean color pattern or do you mean conformation wise?
no, not really confirmation because you'll see dogs that are. I mean, we all know. Like you can see a dog. I mean, like even without noticing it, we see that confirmation, and the confirmation goes back to that's not just an aesthetic. That's not just for looks. Like confirmation is about mechanical ability.
I was going to say mechanics too.
So I mean, we all see that. When you don't want a dog with 4-inch legs.
Yeah. Color is really the last thing I look at. I mean, I look at the conformation, the build. I don't like something that looks like it could, drink out of a beer bottle. Um, so I like a broader headed, square headed hound, flat as an anvil on top. Good ear, stuff like that. I like good structural um, makeup on a dog.
The thing is that so like a lot of people, you know, so the looks of a dog and the structure of a dog goes often goes back to the purpose of a dog. It's not just purely aesthetics. Like so when I see a block-headed dog, they tend they tend to be rougher, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's through mechanics or I don't know. But it's not always aesthetics. Like you can sometimes look at a dog and gauge some characteristics by their physical attributes. Does that make
You
sense?
mean, yeah? You mean like color of the eyes,
Not really.
um,
I'm not. No, I'm talking more like body structure.
color of the nose?
Yeah, I'm talking more structure. So, like, if you see a dog, it doesn't always, of course, pan out. But you can look at a dog. I'm speaking from hog dogs. So, like, you can look at one and tell. So I was at a bay this weekend in Oklahoma, southern Oklahoma, and
Yep.
they would, have the dogs at the gate, And I don't know the owners, I don't know the dogs, but you could kind of look at them and like, these are going to catch out. So where does that come from? It's not about color. I mean, it's about
Right.
this the body style of the dog.
Were
You're
you
like, yeah.
right? Were you right?
I mean, probably 75% of the time.
Yeah.
That might be giving myself a little bit too much credit, but
Are you
you know,
drinking? What is that? Our Estella Artois or whatever it. What the heck? That's a liberal beer, dude. What is
not
that?
liberal.
That is too. Matt
I
Damon
mean,
drinks that stuff and then preaches about green energy and all that crap.
well, I'm not Matt Damon. I just like skunky beer. I like that.
What's that called? Estella Artois.
Yeah.
That is highfalutin stuff for an Oklahoma redneck. I'm just going to tell you
Oh,
right now.
it's like so skunky. I love that. I love skunky beer. I don't know what you would call that. I'm not up with the loggers and all that. It's a logger, but it's really skunky.
Just grab a PBR and roll with it, man.
No, PBR is nasty.
Oh, it's America.
I don't care. It's nasty. It's like drinking
Uh,
body. It's like drinking body odor.
anyway, we were talking about that form and function and stuff like that. And I was planning on stopping at that hog bay, but by the time I got to Saturday morning, man, I had one thing in mind. I was hauling dogs and dealing with dogs for 4 or 5 days, and I was ready to get home and get them off the road.
It wasn't all that cold, but it was windy as hell. Like down there in South Central Oklahoma, it's just I've never been there where it's not windy. It was only in the 40s, but the wind was blowing like 40 miles an hour, and it was.
So, like Oklahoma's like 2 inches wide. So, how do you get to South Central Oklahoma? What do you consider yourself? Are you like East Central?
No, no, I'm northeast,
Oh, you're northeast.
about as
But
northeast as
if you drive like 3 miles south, then you'll be southeast.
3 miles.
Yeah.
No, it ain't 3 miles.
It's like when you drive across Kansas or you drive across Tennessee, east west, and then you drive across Oklahoma, it's like or you go north to south through Tennessee and then you go to Oklahoma, it's like that's nothing.
I
I
mean,
wonder
yeah,
which is wider.
yeah. I mean, we're not huge. I mean,
You're
uh,
huge east to west.
yeah, we're bigger. I mean, we're pretty. So in Oklahoma, we have Highway 40,
Mm-hmm.
which cuts the north from the south, and Highway 69, which cuts us east to the west, and they intersect pretty much
That's
straight in the
backwards,
middle.
dude.
What's that?
That's backwards. 40s goes east to west, west to east.
Yeah, but it cuts the north from the south,
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay, I'm following you now.
and then 69 cuts the uh, west from the east, and
Okay.
they intersect almost exactly in the center of Oklahoma. So that's how we designate the four sections of Oklahoma,
The
and
quadrants of
it's pretty
Oklahoma.
accurate.
Yeah,
What's that?
the quadrants of Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's pretty evenly distributed.
I like that drive from like your place all the way to the western edge of Oklahoma. I really do. I mean that's a surprising deal because once you get to the west side, it turns into like high desert type stuff.
Yeah, I mean Oklahoma is pretty. I mean, so when people from not around this region think of Oklahoma, like I hear it all the time, they're like, "Oh, it's like super flat there, like Kansas." It's like no, Oklahoma's extremely diverse. Like in the northeast where I'm at, we're in the foothills of the Ozarks, so it's what we call mountains. Uh, you
It's
get to the
big timber
south,
too.
yeah, you get to the southeast, and
Hmm.
it's more mount. I mean, it's mountainous, and then on the west side of the state, I mean, we go from mountains and big forest to desert to swamp. Uh, It's pretty diverse.
Yes, it is.
I think it's more diverse than people give it credit for.
100%. I mean, from where I'm at, when you say Oklahoma, you automatically think dust bowls and tumbleweeds, blown across the road and stuff, and you can get all that, but you also get everything you just said too.
Yeah, we're not just
Yeah,
plains.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, man, I just came off of a wild. I mean, it was a great trip. It really was.
It looked good.
The
You made me jealous.
Did I?
Yeah, you kept sending me pictures and videos.
I know it was awesome. I did that to make you jealous
I know.
because I think you had made a post on Facebook, which we'll get into your winning friends and influencing people on Facebook here in a minute. But um, you made a post about riding a mule, and you'd said something about I'd almost, if I wasn't 50 some years old, I'd move
Yeah.
and disappear into the New Mexico wilderness, which I could totally see you doing that. But you realize Ben Lilly was 50 years old when he hit New Mexico, right?
Yeah, I'm not Ben Lilly. He was way tougher than me.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, you
no,
were so yeah, get to where you were going. So you were in New Mexico
I
driving
drove I
around.
drove I drove no, I drove to Paloma and left here, drove to Paloma because my one of my objectives was to pick up my dogs, my hounds. So now I have hounds here again. Makes me feel a little more legit. Doing a houndsman podcast for 8 months and didn't have a hound on the place. It was kind of like, who's this guy? Is he some kind of poser? And so I picked up the hounds. We did a photo shoot with Tyler Sladen for Ledged Out Bourbon for our
I saw
next release.
I saw those pictures. They were super cool.
Oh man, I'm telling you, that guy, he can capture the moment. He's got an eye for it, and did a great job on those. We spent 2 days doing that. And when you go into you think about taking pictures of a bottle of whiskey. I was thinking, what are we going to do? Because I didn't book for 2 days, and I was thinking, what are we going to do for 2 days to take pictures of this bottle? And by the time it was all done, we used every bit of it.
Oh yeah.
Just different settings and different things we were trying to go for, and yeah, it was great. He turned out some awesome photos there. So
Yeah, I mean
and
we can't give it away, but you shared some of the photos with me, and what was cool was the whiskey bottle was up front, but in the background, and it was blurred so much I couldn't even tell if it was you horseback or who it was horseback. But yeah, like having the hunters horseback, but that where they were faded out enough where you could tell what they were, but you couldn't tell
right,
who it was super cool.
it was actually the Whitaker brothers, Josh and Jason. Those two are great friends, and I mean they're real friends to all houndsmen. So shout out to Josh and Jason. So we spent 2 days doing that, and then so there was a big snowstorm. They've had a lot of snow on the Paloma all winter, and I got out of bed Wednesday morning early because I was still on Eastern time, and I was sitting there thinking, man, what am I going to do today? And I just blasted out a message out to Hunter Meekum. It's like, hey, is there any chance I could interview your grandpa Stan Meekum? He says, yeah. So I drove 14 hours from New Mexico to Utah, to Tropic, Utah, and was there and stayed with the Meekums. And we did that podcast, and I had total intentions of doing that podcast and peeling and trying to get back here because we're in the new house. We got internet. It's all cool, but um, I had to be back here for cabinet tops and stuff this week. So I was planning on on peeling out. Well, McLean said, "Hey, why don't you stick around and hunt with us tomorrow?" And it's funny because I wanted to, but I also wanted to get home, and I just kept hearing Wade Hollerman's voice. I talked to him on the way to Meekums. He goes, "You're gonna stay around and hunt a couple days." I was like, "No, man, I got to get home." He goes, "When are you going to get back out here next to hunt? You're never going to be on this side of the Rockies again." Giving me a hard time. And so when McLean made the offer, I was like hearing Wade Hollerman's voice in my head. When are you going to be back out here? Because you always think I'll catch you next time I'm out, and then when's next time? It's not like it's just down the road.
The next time in Utah?
Yeah. Next time I'm in Utah.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just down the road where, oh, maybe I'll come back next week and do it. So, I thought I've got a place to stay, and I don't have to be back to Indiana that quick. So I stuck around and hunted with them. And before we get into the hunting side, man, I got to tell you about Tropic, Utah. Anytime you travel in the West, you never know what you're going to get into. You look at the map and you see this little bitty dot, and you're thinking, okay, is this going to be like a couple gas stations, a couple reputable families, and then a bunch of meth labs, around?
Yeah.
And Tropic, Utah is very nice. I mean, it's right down the road from Bryce Canyon National Park. And the Meekums have one crazy nice outfit there. McLean and his wife own 22 different vacation rentals. They own a pizza place. They are capitalizing on the tourism to Bryce Canyon. So they also host the Bryce Canyon Mule Days and the Chrome and the Canyon Mule Sale. It is just a super cool little town, and if you're ever out around Bryce Canyon, I highly recommend you contact McLean and stay in one of those cabins. I stayed in a really nice little place.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to Utah. Been around.
That's kind of cool, though. That's kind of good that a lot of people don't know about it. But here's a kicker. Like Bryce Canyon National Park, they were telling me they saw 2 million visitors last year in Bryce Canyon National Park. 2 million. So after Labor Day, it becomes a zoo.
Well, do you guys treat any mountain lions?
No, we didn't. So that's a whole nother chapter of this thing. So we recorded a podcast with Stan Meekum, and Stan is one of a kind. He's been hunting since he was 18 years old. I don't want to give it away because we did a whole podcast on it, but back in the old days, and started this generation of hound, or this line of hounds that goes 50 plus generations now, and got the stories from Stan about the old days of hunting in Utah. It was wild and crazy.
How old
He is a sport. He is going to be 88 this year. So it was one of my favorite podcasts. We had Stan in there, we have McLean, his son, and then McLean's son Hunter, all sitting there together talking about hunting in the old days, and helping me keep staying on topic and different stuff, and bring some of those great rich stories out of Stan. It was great.
Yeah, and that's cool that the family is keeping on once a dog leaves the family, to me it ceases to be that breed,
Mm-hmm. Yep. So to give you a little backstory, Hunter Meekum is 7 generations in Bryce Canyon on his mom's side, and 6 generations on his dad's side, on the Meekum side. I mean, think about how far that goes back. Stan was telling me that one of his great grandfathers was the first white child born in Bryce Valley, Utah.
Yeah.
When one of his first great grandfather got there, he was actually living. He established that ranch and was feeding the Paiutes and stuff beef off his ranch.
Yeah, that was kind of the trade for being there.
Yep, yep. Kept your hair that way.
Yeah. Something you'd know
So,
about.
yeah. But I mean, you think about. So I always gave Hunter a hard time about not coming to Nashville for the Safari Club International show and different stuff. It's like, man, you got Wade out here doing all the work, selling all these hunts. But when I pulled in there, immediately I realized why he doesn't leave. I mean, they live. So Stan lives about 200 yards away from McLean, and then you go to the west and another 150 yards, and Hunter lives there. They all live right there together. They've got the ranch, they've got everything going right behind them. It's a cool setup. So when they
Yeah, I mean,
offered me to go ahead.
there's something about those, like, whether it's Alaska or the desert, there's something about that. Like, the living's not easy, but is it a fair trade off for just not being surrounded by people? It probably is.
Yeah, yeah. And they live right on the edge of this little town of Tropic. I was expecting to pull back a long ranch road and go to the Meekums and stuff like that, but no, it's the farthest. I'm going to say, let me think. It'd be the farthest south edge of Tropic. There, you're driving through all these houses, and you keep driving through the streets of Tropic, and then you get to the Meekums house, and behind them is just wilderness. So you pull off the street, and you're just right in their driveway. It's pretty crazy, man. I'm telling you, it was a cool experience to go out there and visit them and see how they live and look at all their hounds. We're talking about, markings and different stuff. They had some dogs. They had some hounds there that were out of their breeding. They had tricolor. They had the tricolor English look. They had the red tick. And then they had some stuff that looked like it had Dalmatian in it because it was just spotted like that and calico ears and stuff. But it was all their breeding. And I was talking.
What kind of dogs are they breeding?
I think you can just call them Meekum hounds after 50 generations.
I
Just
mean, yeah, but I mean, what's the closest?
I would say the closest would be an English type dog. You
Yeah.
got the red tick, you got the blue tick, you got the tricolor. So I would say that the closest breed you could tie him to would be the English hound. But Stan gets into black and tans and plots and all kinds of stuff that have in his podcast. It will air, I think Monday. We'll air that next Monday.
Yeah, check that one.
So we got to get to the lion hunt, man. So I show up and they put me up for the night. I come back up there and we're loading up and getting everything ready. And I told Hunter, I said, man, I need a total dude mule. I'm telling you, because it's been like 10 years since I've ridden, probably more than that, probably 15 years since I've ridden. And I had mules, and we even I broke horses, not from like, well, yeah, pretty much from colt to riding stock, but back in the younger days. But at 56 years old, the ground's a little harder and it's a little further to fall. And I wasn't really interested in that. So they put this tin horn on a solid mule. I mean, she was just, I don't think she was bomb proof. She's about I'm going to say she was right at 15 hands and just calm and sure footed. And for me, it was like it wasn't a trail ride at all. We were bushwhacking and had some steep climbs, and she was just a solid, awesome mule. little mousy colored thing that just, she took every step. And Hunter told me she's a little bit lazy. So I had to keep on her a little bit, but not bad. I mean, she stepped right out and was great. But we rode through
Even the lazy ones want to keep up.
yeah, yeah. But I found out she was like 15 years old and perfect mule for me to ride, man. I was happy. I was happy to be on her. And we did about a 12-mile loop. We cold trail we found a couple line tracks and cold trail a little bit, but um it was pretty cool. It was just a lot of fun. It was a different type of hunting, and just kind of the mystique of being out there. A lot of our listeners get to do it all the time, and we used to ride a lot coon hunting. When I had mules and horses, I rode 4 or 5 days a week at least. But it's been so long, and then being out there in those mountains, it was not to sound gay, but it was romantic. It really was.
And it's not supposed to be easy.
Right.
Like if I go on a drag around line hunt, I want it to be hard as hell.
Yeah.
I don't want to strike 4 hours in.
Yeah. That's about what it was. It was about 3.5 hours in. We finally got a strike after we'd rode through some pretty rough country,
but it didn't play out.
Nope, didn't play out, and it was great. Had a great time. I was sore, man. When I got back, we jumped out on the road, and I looked down the road, and trucks were down the road, and I said, "Is that us?" And they're like, "Yep." And I was like, "Thank you, baby Jesus," because my knees weren't, I just wasn't stretched out and conditioned to be riding like that.
It's tough.
Yep. Yep. And then the ride home, I did 1,600 miles in 34 hours. I was a road warrior, baby.
Golly. I'd have had to stop 6 times.
I don't know how many times I stopped. Stopping for fuel. That truck I got the big tank on the Tundra, and I can get about 400 miles out of a tank of fuel. So I probably stopped 3 times, probably 4 times on the way back.
Oh, I mean stopping to sleep.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I drove from Tropic to Hays, Kansas, and stopped in Hays, and I got a room. I booked a room in Hays, and for some stupid reason, I woke up at 1:30 in the morning. If I'm on the road and I wake up like that, it's like, well, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And so, and I hate doing that because I feel like you get ripped off on your hotel room. And so there's an IHOP just like right across the driveway. Went over there and ate breakfast, came back, got everything packed up and got back on the road. And that morning, dude, I'm telling you, across Kansas there, 5:30 in the morning, it wasn't daylight yet. And I was like, I'm going to have to pull off. I'm going to have to pull off and take a nap. Because I just got so drowsy and groggy and luckily I needed fuel, and I got out and the wind was blowing. It was cold at around 5:30 and pulled back out and hit the road. I was fine after I get out and walk around a little bit, get the blood pumping, get a little refreshing fresh air, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. I can't drive like that.
I like riding by myself though. I really do.
Yeah,
I get to listen to whatever I want to listen to on the radio. I stop when I want to stop.
Yeah, I gotta have someone to talk, or else I'm gonna go to sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
What about them? Because no more than you talk.
When I like somebody, I will talk. Like if I'm talking, I like you.
Oh man. Yeah, it's just one of those deals, I like going and experiencing new things and seeing cool stuff, and Yep. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it'd be super cool. Even if you don't
Yep.
tree. That's the thing about hunting off mule or horseback. Even when you don't do any good, it's still a good day.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yep. McLean Macomb and Hunter too. You know, I knew Hunter. I just when I went to Tropic, that's the first time I met McLean, but he's the same age as me. You'll never find a finer human being. He's in the tourism business, so he knows about hospitality. Um, he's a quiet guy. If you meet him out, you know, if you walk up to him at horses, hounds, and mules sale or something like that, don't expect him to be this gregarious, outgoing guy. But once you spend a little time with him, you'll be like, that is one fine human being right there.
Is there a date set for horse, hounds, and mules yet?
Yeah, yeah.
What is it?
It's like the 25th, 26th, something in that time frame. I don't have my. Let me look here. I'm gonna look at a calendar. And people need to stay tuned on the horses, hounds, and mules because we're working with Trey and Wade on a few projects there. Let me see. It's going to be in July. I'm going to say it's the 25th, 26th.
Of July.
Yep. Yep. And it's going to be on the Tuxum Ranch in Colorado, which is 30 minutes from Durango. So people could fly right in there and or drive there, whatever. But there's an airport, international airport. Somebody could fly into Durango. I don't think they'll let you bring a mule back on the plane to fly service animal or anything, but
No, you'd have to contract that.
yep. Yep.
I don't know that
But
I
yeah,
could afford. I don't know that I could afford any mules sold there, but
you'd be surprised. So I knew better than to get a bidder number last year because I knew I'd buy something. So I didn't even get a bidder number. But there was a little mule there that I would have really liked. But and it didn't sell. I mean, it wasn't unreasonable. What's unreasonable for a mule for you?
what's unreasonable?
Yeah, I mean, what's like high end?
Well, I mean, there's what's unreasonable and there's what I can afford. Uh,
Yeah. What would you be
yeah.
willing to pay for a good solid mule, no buck, no kick, just something that's going to take care of you and transport you across the.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, but I'll probably top out at 5 or 6.
You could afford a good mule there.
Which I mean, you go to like mule days in California and stuff. There, of course, they sell some $50,000 mules, but
Yep.
there's there's good mules under that.
Mm-hmm.
I always like a 51, 52-inch mule, little mules.
That's a funny thing that we were talking about because the mule I was riding was a 60-inch mule. And out there, the brush, it keeps you above the brush because you don't have a whole lot of overhead.
Mm.
And so it's not important. But if you get back east here, I had the guy that mentored me in mules. He could have a 56-inch mule that was just out of this world, but he liked a 54-inch mule, and he would sell that 56-inch mule or trade it for a 54-inch mule. That's just what he wanted.
Yeah, I mean, where I'm at, like a 52-inch mule kind of keeps you out of the brush. You go underneath it, which I've hunted
Under it, yes.
under it. Like I've hunted a lot of 15 and a half ham mules, and it just, I was in the brush. It wasn't as comfortable. And there's kind of like this stigma of, you know, like everything, a bigger mule's better. But I didn't find it as enjoyable. I like a smaller mule.
Well, if you get too small, then you feel like you're riding a donkey.
It don't matter. I mean, as long as I'm comfortable,
That's the thing. As long as you're comfortable and putting that pride aside where you don't feel like you're Friar Tuck out there on your little burro.
Oh
You
yeah. I
know,
mean, I've ridden a 52-inch mule with
I
guys
have
who
too.
were with guys who are riding 15 and a half hand mules. And, there's that kind of, where you're like, oh, I want a smaller mule. I'm a lesser of a man. But that's bullshit.
Right. Right. 100%. Those little small mules, some of them are tough. We had that little Mustang Arab cross, and he was probably 14 hands. He was tougher than any quarter horse we had on the place, man. He was a little tough sucker.
Oh, them Mustangs are tough as hell.
Yep. Yep.
I've never had one. But my dad always told me, he said, you break one of them Mustangs, and he's like, you've got something.
Yeah.
But I've never had one.
Yep. For sure. So that was my trip.
I just went to Ringling, Oklahoma, not Utah.
Do what? You went to Ringling, Oklahoma?
Yeah, not Utah.
Yeah.
Not near as exotic. It was a good time. It was a cool bay.
How many dogs they run?
They ran about 50 something in the one dog, 50 something in the two dog. So I mean, it was a pretty good turnout.
Yeah.
It was geared towards less the pro bay pinner side. It was geared towards the just guys who hog hunt, bringing them dogs. So it was
Woods class type stuff.
What's that?
Woods class type stuff.
Yeah, I mean the whole bay was. So
Yeah.
it was entertaining.
You back on the snuff, are you?
Yeah, I can't quit. It's impossible. Are you still off?
Yeah, I'm still off.
Damn.
Yep.
What are you
Been before August.
That's pretty impressive. I don't have that much self-control.
It's hard, man. Just watching you do that, it's like we might get into some real raw dogging, French
Yeah.
kissing and stuff.
Well, I split my time between snuff and then nicotine pouches.
If
I've
you
got
can gauge, see, I've got no brakes. I've got no control. If I take a pinch of snuff, it's like it's on again.
Yeah, I can go about 50-50.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point I'll switch over. I mean, the nicotine patches are cool,
Pouches. Yeah.
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 Because, I mean, I'll get to a point where, like, snuff doesn't even taste good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just doing it because I'm addicted.
That's the way I am too. That's the way I am, no doubt. We don't
But
have
I
many
need-
comments and questions coming up here. What's going
Well,
on?
We got a few. Throw them up there.
We haven't really got anything. Let me look at them. But so what got into you the last week with all your pissing off everybody on Facebook?
Man, I'm just sick of everything. I'm sick of it. Like, 100% sick of it.
Sick of what? What part? What are you sick of?
Everything. No, I mean, it's mostly a hog hunting thing. But, I mean, you get on Facebook and it's just this guy saying, puffing his chest out. I got the best dogs, the worst pigs, Duh, duh. Anybody wants to come hunt these pigs, I got $20,000. You put down $20,000, we'll see who's got the best dogs. I mean, it just never ends. It's like, would you guys stop? Just fucking stop, And I just get where I can't take it anymore. It's like our whole culture has gone so stupid.
What do you think's causing that? I mean, did it used to be that way, or is that a new
Well,
phenomenon?
no. Of course it used to be that way because we didn't really have that. Used to, it was just, we knew the dudes around the house that hunted, and we ran into them every once in a while at the store. But there wasn't this, like, when we ran into them at the store, there wasn't this mentality of, like, your dogs suck, my dogs are better. You want to bet $20,000? It was just, talking. And now it's like our culture has expanded, which can be good because you can, interact with people you wouldn't have interacted with otherwise, But it also just like brings out the worst. Just gets to be too much.
Do you
Shit.
do you think do you think that's because of social media, or do you think it's um, because it's just attracting more jackasses?
No, I mean there's all hog hunting has always attracted jackasses. Myself included. Uh, yeah, of course it's got to do with social media. Used to we just had yourself and four other jackasses around the house that you competed with, and now there's 1,000 of them across the nation that you got to deal with. We've got to get past it. We've got to get past this like macho. It doesn't matter who you talk to. You talk to some dude in West Texas, their land is the toughest. Oh, I bet you couldn't catch a pig here. You talk to the dudes in Mississippi. Oh, I bet you couldn't catch a pig here. You talk to the guys. Oh, you couldn't catch a pig here. Shut up. It's hard everywhere.
You
Ain't
know,
nothing special.
Shorty Gorham always says a good dog's a good dog, no matter where you put them down. And I've noticed that with coon hounds. When I was competition hunting, people would say, "Oh, my guy, bring that Indiana dog down here, and you won't catch coons." And then you go down there, and it's like, okay, when you're packing a good dog, you're packing a good dog, and they
I
can
mean,
treat coons.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely true. The way you figure out, yeah, but that's
I think
true. But
some of it's an excuse. Okay, and people not hunting outside of their own zip code.
yeah,
You get these people that never hunt outside their own zip code, and then they want to challenge everybody else that they
like you don't
couldn't
even
come
know.
there and
You don't
do
even.
that.
Yeah, you don't even know what's out there.
No, you have no
What?
clue what's on. The world is not flat. At the edge of your zip code, there's other people doing stuff, and great dogs are great dogs no matter where you put them down.
But then on the flip side, if you mostly hunt around your house, what does it matter? You know,
100%.
if
If
you're
you're
if
feeding it and you're
and you're happy,
content,
yeah. What does it matter?
right?
Which I mean, I totally agree with the point that if you want to see what your dog is, you know, go to some different terrain. But on the flip,
Look what Chris Watson's saying. It's the same where everywhere, but guys chasing lions are a lot more isolated, so maybe not as bad. Are you kidding me? Dry ground lion hunters are the biggest elitists I've ever been around in my life. I'm calling you out on that one, Watson. You guys act like if you can't catch a lion in the dirt, you ought to just call your whole yard.
but that is kind of the pinnacle.
You know,
I think they're at the forefront.
you think
I think, yeah. I mean,
if
dry
you if
ground line hounds.
I think you go to some place like South Africa and you chase leopards where it hadn't rained in 4 years and you're catching leopards and you're trailing leopards. I think that's pretty challenging.
Yeah, I mean, you're jumping to a different continent. I'm not thinking that far.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, you compare catching coons in Indiana compared to catching dry ground lions. I mean, we're overrun with coons. If you haven't got a dog that can do a halfway decent job of catching coons, you are just wait. I don't even know what to tell you. You know, um, but yeah, I mean, it is special. I'm not gonna lie, it is special. I just
Why
thought
don't
it
you
was fun. I just thought it was funny that coming from Watson.
Why don't you hash it out with Chris? I'm gonna go get a glass of water.
All right, sounds good. I must just clicked a button. Got kicked off there. Hey, Chris, while we're hashing this out, I want you to look up here. Like, let me see if I can figure out how to get there. Right there. See those badges up there? There they are. Right there. Bunch of game warden badges right there. I think you're probably right. Okay, we'll bring this up here. I get to have a one-sided conversation with Chris Watson. If you want to know drama, man, follow some of the competition, coon hunting stuff. It's pretty much sorting itself out these days. Been a lot of strides there, but man, back in the day, competition coon hunting was crazy. What other comments we got out there? Caveman, hey man, we're glad you're here, and we're glad you're listening to us ramble on. The old faithful Roy Fairby chimed in sometime back about when we're talking about confirmation and stuff, and form comes function. I can't agree with that more. Roy's a good dog man that stays after it. I guess Ed had to walk to town to get that glass of water.
Y'all figured out.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's see. See, Arizona even doesn't have any coins. Their coin population is nothing compared to back east.
He means coon, I'm sure.
It used to, remember when everything auto-populated coin because this politically correct world, even your iPhone auto-corrects it to coin.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else we got, Ed? I don't want to just keep beating a dead horse here.
But I mean, back on that, like a lot of, some people gave me shit on that. There are people who don't know me because
About what?
knows. About like when I was saying the old days are better than now. I mean, you're old enough, like you remember hunting without social media, hunting without cell phones. Tell me it wasn't better.
It was more pure.
Yeah, I mean,
you got your enjoyment from the experience. Now it feels like that the experience isn't over until you get a big slap and a pat on the back from all your buddies because you posted a picture on Facebook.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I remember Polaroids and dropping off film canisters to get developed, and it was a lot slower pace back then, but my God, it was so much better.
yeah, you just hunted because you love to hunt, not because you wanted to hunt and take a picture and show off.
And now I think it's kind of gone the opposite way. Which I totally make a point now not to post hunting stuff. Like I've gone so far that I do the exact opposite. Like I'm not posting hunting stuff.
Yeah. Well, and Shane's always after me about videotaping hunts for YouTube and different things, but so when you're in this side of it and you're producing podcasts and you're running a business and you're trying to do a lot of that stuff, then you almost feel driven to produce that content, be that content creator. And for me, I just like going out and hunting and enjoying it for what it is and not being part of the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like whenever, I mean, not just hunting, every aspect of life. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you're so when you're so hyper focused on getting the video, getting the pictures, it's like, yeah, you're capturing a part of it, but you're missing the present. I would rather
How,
not do any of that and just enjoy the present. And I've got a memory somewhat, you know.
how do you feel about knife making now compared to when you first started? Do you look at it more like it's a job now, or do you still really enjoy making knives?
I still really enjoy it because it's not my job,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I've contemplated.
But you've got a
I-
website, Ed Barnes Knives,
I've got a
and the whole
website, but
nine
it's
yards.
not, you know, it's not my job. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a job. I've got a job that pays my bills, and I've contemplated over the last, you know, 3 years or so of making it my full time job, which I'm not going to do because I know that it would take the fun out of it. You know,
Yeah.
like I could make a live. I could probably make a living today making knives, but it would be at the expense of my enjoyment of making knives. Of making knives.
Right.
So I look
Yeah.
at hunting kind of the same way. It's like, I mean, not that I can make a living at hunting. Obviously, nobody can. But I just want to. I want to try to keep it, you know, as pure as I can. I mean, you can't make it totally pure nowadays. I don't think. You know, unless you delete your Facebook and delete your Instagram and all that shit. But on the regular, you know, we'll go catch pigs or tree coons, and we don't post any of that. And there's
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of gone full circle where there's it's kind of this it kind of feels good not to post it.
Yeah. When I first got on Facebook, however many years ago that's been now, or social media. Well, I remember the old UKC forum days. I documented Jazz's first year from the time I brought her home until she was a year old. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was kind of a running journal type thing. I looked at it as a journal, and I did it for the benefit of that. But now I'm to the point where um, the news worn off of it, and there's got to be some parts of this life that are mine to enjoy. And I don't post when I'm standing in line at Walmart and all that other garbage like people do. It's like I don't even post a whole lot. Like if I'm on the road, I don't post a whole lot of stuff that I'm gone from home. you know, no,
Yeah,
not
it's
going to
it's
do it.
smart not to. It's
Yeah.
like so when I so I'll think back and think like when if I could just choose to be you know when to be alive and be hunting, like when would I choose? And I don't want to be hunting in 1700 because it was damn hard. Uh, so I think the pinnacle of like hunting in America was probably like the 1950s. Like we had enough technology to make it easier, yet it was still kind of hard. You know, we had modern rifles, we had vehicles. So I kind of think back to like a more kind of our more modern version of that. And man, back when we had the internet and some of us had tracking capabilities, people who could afford it. But man, back in those like UKC forum days,
Hmm.
uh, baydog.com forum
Yep.
days, the forum days are my modern equivalent to the 1970s. Like, so uh, you could find people who were like minded and talk with them, but there wasn't this like mean spirited. I mean, there was fights. Like, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, it was like more of a community. We didn't have to worry about people who were anti dog hunting, seeing our stuff, arguing with us. And man, I love them old forum days. I wish
Yeah.
we would go back to that. Like I tried years ago, I tried to start. you know, I tried to like reverse history a little bit on the Tuskers website, and we had like a forum, but it didn't take off obviously.
Yeah.
But I love that time period. So what are we talking like? The early 2000s maybe.
Hmm.
I think that was.
That's
I think
crazy,
that
isn't it?
was.
That was
I think
25
that.
years ago.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that was the perfect balance of being able to communicate with people outside of your community, but also not having everything so
Yeah.
much out there.
When I was growing up, you go up to the corner gas station, and people. Let's see what we got here. We got Chris Watson and Caveman throwing down in the comments. We'll have to get to that. Um, but no, when I was coming up, you'd go up to the corner station, and all the coon hunters would gather up there, and we'd talk about hunting and hounds, and you could go there, and then you could go a few miles to the east and go to the New Bern General Store, and hang out there and talk about hunting and stuff like that. So when the 1990s and the internet came along, and then the forums started popping up, it was like, wow. I went from the local store in East Enterprise, or wherever it was, where we all got together and talked about dogs and hunting and whatever, to being able to talk to somebody in wherever in the world they were hunting. It was cool. And we
Yeah,
got
it was
into it.
cool. And those like small town stores. I mean, you remember. So like if you killed a giant buck or got a giant boar hog, they had like
A brag board.
a brag board, and you would get your picture. You'd get the picture printed out, and you'd stick it on the board. And then you'd walk in there and be like, somebody'd be like, "Man, that thing was giant." And then you got to talk to them. That really was the original, like social media, but it
Yeah,
was local. It
that's
was
right.
localized. You know.
Raymond store over here, they kept a Polaroid camera. They were a deer check station. They kept a Polaroid camera on behind the counter, and if you killed a big buck, Janice would, she'd be like, "Hey, Donnie, watch the register," and she'd walk out of the little store and walk out there to somebody's truck and take a picture of a kid with their first deer, and then
Yeah,
the
that's one thing that
Polaroid.
I hate. Like so in Oklahoma, it's probably been shit, I don't know, 3, 4 years. Like we got rid of it's all e-check-in on
Yeah,
deer now.
yeah,
So before they did that, even if I wasn't hunting, so if I wasn't
you
going to deer hunt, sometimes I would think about it, and I would go up to the Moody store, which was a deer check station,
and hang
and
out.
just hang out and watch the deer come in, and you talk to the
Right.
guys, and there was kind of this like sense of community, which now is kind of gone.
Yeah,
Or it's not kind of gone; it's totally fucking
it's
gone.
totally gone. Yeah, the community's on social media now.
Which can be good and it can be bad.
The thing here's the thing. So back in the check station days, it was an institution type thing. Opening weekend of deer season, and guys would gather at the check station, and a guy would pull in, and he'd have a buck in the back of his truck, and everybody go out there and look at it, and they'd hear the stories and stuff, and everybody would just be like, "Oh man, congratulations." And it felt good. It felt good to that person because they're standing there and they're telling their story. It didn't matter if it was a little basket rack and you didn't like it. You always, maybe it sounds hypocritical, but it was better to look at that guy and say, congratulations. That's the better way to go. Now on social media, a guy posts a picture of a basket rack and he gets shamed and told that he shouldn't have shot that, and
Yeah, my
he
11-year-old shot one that's bigger.
yeah, and all that garbage because they're protected. They're not standing there across the truck bed from that guy talking to him. So now they're hiding in their basement posting on Facebook.
It's like, okay, so I'll bring my great uncle John up again. But he told me a long time ago, he said a long time ago, whenever everybody knew everybody that lived in a community, He said there wasn't much stealing, there wasn't much lying, there wasn't much screwing around
Yeah.
because everybody would know about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, if a dude got caught doing one of them things, he had so much shame from the community that they would often leave, you know.
Yeah.
And he said that's what's missing from our community, which it goes back to what you're talking about because half or three quarters of the shit that people talk on social media, they would not say to somebody's
Nope.
face because
Nope.
they'd probably get four knuckles and a thumb jammed down their mouth for it, you know?
Right.
So we have to get to, you know, like I say, there's good parts to it and there's obviously bad parts to it, but, you know, and I have hope that it's kind of, I think social media is kind of on the way out.
You think it is?
I think it is.
They keep shifting gears a lot.
I think it's on the way out. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so disgusting.
Let's catch up on some comments.
Hit them.
I want to get to the part where Caveman and Chris Watson started rolling around in the dirt. Let's see. We'll start with this one. Yeah, we don't see any of the comp that we already brought that one up. This is what kicked it off. Lions do not turn their scent off. It's about how abrasive their steps are to the soil. Those are fighting words to an Arizona lion hunter right there.
To some of them.
Yep. And then which soil, Caveman? It just kind of goes on. You guys can read the comments, but yeah,
and
it was friendly. I'm adding some drama to it.
That goes back. So like, I enjoy a good civil discussion / argument.
Yeah,
I totally enjoy that, and I think that's for the betterment of ourselves in the sport. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
But when I say that, I'm talking about people being civil and actually listening to the other person and being capable of changing their mind. But that rarely happens anymore. But I think that discussion like that is important, and that can be a good part of social media. But man, you don't see those good discussions very often.
Just have a civil conversation. We don't have to agree. You and I don't agree on everything.
Hell no, we don't.
And
we don't have to.
No, that's exactly right. Like,
if I only talk to people who agree with me, I'd only talk to myself, and I don't want to do that.
Look at this jackass. Nobody can agree with this guy, Tanner Herr.
No.
Do enjoy the video and pictures for the simple fact you're not going to remember every hog to look back at. See, he always Tanner has to be the guy that's like has a logical response. What's wrong with you, Tanner?
I mean, I do agree with that.
Let's not agree with him.
But,
let's be typical and just be like, oh, bullshit, Tanner.
I mean, I've found myself doing that. So, I'm terrible about aging dogs. Like somebody asked me, like, how old's that dog? I'm like, 2. And Tanner would be like, Ed, there's no way that dog's 2. It's got to be 5. And so, like, the way I usually figure that out is going to Facebook and I go back through my pictures and see, like, when I posted pictures of puppies. And, yeah, usually I'm wrong. So, I mean, I get that, But in the same token, like, I've been hog hunting with Tanner for a shit ton of years. And I know the last 2 years, like, he don't even post a pig unless it's, something special.
Yeah. Yep. And then it kind of so we're winding it down. I think they had they hugged.
Who? Chris and
Caveman. Yeah. Because Caveman started talking about his phone balls. I don't know what those are.
I don't know what phone balls are either.
I don't either. course, I didn't know what raw dog meant when I named this show either until you told
You
me.
didn't, and I was like, "That's great." So Chris was like, Chris named it Raw Dog, and I was like, "Oh, that's perfect." And then like 2 days later, he messaged me. He's like, "I don't think we can name it that." He's like, "I didn't know it meant this," and I was like, "Oh, I did. It's perfect."
And then it was. It was like unprotected conversation. Yes. Oh man. Let's see what this one is. Yeah. Yep, Corey, you're right. That's the old Polaroid, man. Just
So I was
let's
hunting with
see.
this old man. I was hunting with this old man years ago, and we caught some pig, and he was like, "Oh, I got to use my new camera," and he's like, "It's one of them." This was okay. You got to take it.
Yeah, you got
You
frame
got to
this one
take
up,
into
baby.
account this is probably like 2004.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I got one of them new cameras." He's like, "You don't have to drop the film off to get developed." And I was like, "Oh, you got a digital camera?" And he's like, he kind of looked at me weird, and he's like, "Yeah." And then he bust out a Polaroid camera. I'm like, that's 40 years old at this point.
Oh man. We could we'll be there soon enough. We're gonna be there soon enough.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you get to a point in your life where you just give up
You
on
just give
keeping
up.
up with
You just like
with
screw it. I
keeping
don't
up with
need to.
technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Look at that. Brett Vaughn's in here. The one and only. Oh, he's talking about lions turning off their scent.
That's a hot topic.
I've taken it easy on you, Brett. I haven't even hardly commented it. I've been super neutral on it.
No,
Yeah.
you haven't.
Yeah,
No, you
and
haven't.
this show I have been. Yeah.
You have been in this show.
Yep. Yep. Oh man. Well, we about ready to wrap it up. We got anything else? People are
Nah.
starting to pour in here and talk. It's finally starting to talk. So
Oh, and I didn't even really have anything to start with.
I just had a great time, man. And just so since you're in here, Brett, I'll just tell you, I went dry ground line hunting and rode a donkey.
A
There,
donkey?
shots fired, Brett.
You rode a donkey or a
It was a mule.
mule?
It was a mule. It was a
Oh, I
mule.
can't. It's a huge pet peeve of mine when people call mules donkeys.
Oh, I know. Like Hunter will talk about riding his donkey through the mountains. You know, he'll say it offhand, but it's humorous. Because I know what he's talking about. I don't get offended. I don't care.
Hey, I've seen some donkeys that were damn good under saddle.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, those big old long-eared suckers. I mean, you think a mule's ear is long, but when you see a burro, holy smoke! You know where they get the? Yeah, here it is. Chris Watson's throwing gas on the fire. You done it now. You done did it now.
Yeah.
Talking about me calling a mule a donkey.
Oh, I thought he was talking about a lion turning its scent off.
No, well, he might have been talking about that too, but I think it was the donkey comment.
Yeah,
So
mule guys get pretty irate when you call them a donkey.
I am a mule guy. I mean, I never could understand why somebody would ride a horse and lead a bunch of mules. It's like ride the mule and lead a bunch of horses, a bunch of soft-headed horses, man. So, but mule's an awesome animal.
Yeah. My dad always gave me shit. He was
Huh?
like, my dad always gave me shit about riding mules. And he said,
Oh
man,
yeah.
he goes, I wouldn't be caught dead on the back of a mule.
I don't get that, man.
Well, I mean, he comes from like a cowboy culture that is 50 years earlier where, so like I was trying to explain to him, I was like, in your day, people bred their worst mares to make donkeys or make mules.
Make mules.
And I was like, today, it's exactly the opposite. People are breeding their best mares to make mules, and mules are a
They are.
totally different animal than they were in the 1950s. Of course, he didn't get it. Never got it. I'd show him stats from. I'd show him the top 10 high selling mules at uh, California Mule Days, and he'd just shake his head and he's like, "I don't get it."
Yeah, I don't. Why would you spend that much? I think it goes back to the old days of status, though. I mean, um, if the mule was more of a poor man's type transportation, because a mountain family in the Appalachians or the Ozarks, the same mule that you would ride to town to get flour on, you use in harness to plow your field. Whereas the guy that was a little more established and a little better equipped in life financially, they had their mules that they worked. But when I ride to town, I ride on my saddle horse.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
and they
Yep.
bred them different.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And now you're seeing, you know, good gaited walking horses being bred to mule or bred to jacks and getting gaited mules. I mean, there's a lot of fancy mules out there.
Gated mule's nice. My buddy that I used to hunt with had a gated mule.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a Cadillac. I always just rode all like broomstick leg mules. When you went back to the trailer at the end of the day, you knew it.
Yeah. Yep. All right, man. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
we had a Mustang. He was a great horse.
I mean a Mustang is in a way close to a mule in that they're closer to a wild animal than a horse is.
Mm-hmm.
They've got more of that natural survival instinct.
100%. Self-preservation,
So
you know.
tougher feet.
Oh man, we used to ride ours barefoot. We weren't riding in the Southwest deserts, but I always thought about that. It's like wild Mustangs never shod or never trimmed, and they're just running that rough country on bare feet and staying sound. And if they weren't, then they became cougar bait.
Yeah, I mean I never shod my mules, and on that principles, so I trim my mules different than you would trim a horse, and I forget the terminology, but yeah, I was totally in a natural hoof care, which is totally based off wild Mustangs. They don't get shod, and they're
Yeah.
running up in some of that toughest country there is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't shoe my mules, and I could ride them all day, and usually not have a problem.
I could get away with it. I wouldn't end up with. I could get away with it in the East here. Our ground's a little softer. I'd be worried about sore feet on stuff we were riding.
Yeah, I mean
The
I mean it's like a
Rockland
dog.
shale.
It's like a dog. So like if you
Hmm.
put a dog on concrete that's not used to concrete, like their pads are going to be sore initially, but at a certain point they toughen up, and then it's not an issue. Like keeping dogs on concrete, I've never had a real issue with dogs blowing pads because concrete's so tough that it toughens them up. So
Hmm.
same thing on mules and horses. So like I throw them out at my
Do you
house,
broom finish or do you slick finish it?
broom,
Broom. Yeah.
which makes it tougher to clean. But I'm not good at slick finishing. so so it is what it is. But same thing with like a horse or mule. Like I throw them out at my house. Like I've gotten horses and mules from not around here where they came from a lot less rocky environment, and I'd throw them out in the pasture, and for 2 months they'd be sore footed, and then their feet acclimate and they get tougher, and then
Hmm.
you ain't got to shoe them. Like,
Yeah.
they will toughen up. But if you shoe a horse or a mule, they never get that. They never get a chance to get Hooves tough.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good discussion tonight. Good participation from the audience as usual.
Yeah, and if y'all have an idea for a show, let us know because we don't ever think ahead.
I was thinking ahead. I ordered a wig for this one.
You did order a wig.
Yeah. Yeah. After the whole perm comment. Yeah.
That was pretty funny. It was pretty funny when you said they said it. My hair may never grow back. I literally laughed out loud.
On that post.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All right, man. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And we're here every Tuesday night unless we decide we're not going to be.
We should
So,
we should be here next Tuesday.
yeah.
I think.
Yep. Yep. Appreciate everybody tuning in. So make sure we got Brett Vaughn and Chris Watson in there. They're running shows Monday and Wednesday night. So you got time to check those out. Check out what they got going on too. So,
Oh yeah.
All right. Y'all take care. We'll see you later. Thanks,
See
Ed.
ya.